Hey, this is BL. You're listening to the E88 podcast.
To the E88 podcast, the podcast exploring our fantasy wrestling hobby, where the wrestling is written, but the characters are real. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the E88 podcast, episode 88. 88! Holy hell, Brian, it's been a hell of a ride so far. We're 88 episodes in, and we're rolling into 2022.
Rolling.
It's been a great year so far. But unfortunately, we got to address it at the top of the show. My Bengals didn't do too hot in the Super Bowl. And unfortunately, for a great season, all we're going to end up with is the 31st overall pick in the draft. What are your thoughts, Brian?
Well, as far as what I know about the Bengals, they've had a bad Sunday, apparently, but
yes.
That had to have led to a very manic Monday.
I don't think we're talking
Monday.
I don't think we're talking the same Bengals, Brian.
I mean, well, hold on, but do your Bengals walk like an Egyptian?
No, they do the icky shuffle. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
I don't. Is that remember this like 89 Bears did some ridiculous thing for the Super Bowl?
Yeah, it's similar, but ours is better, right?
Oh, is it? Is it though?
But E88, yes, the E88 podcast here on the Atomic Dropcast Network. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Episode 88. It's awesome. I can't believe we made it this far, and we're doing this well. And I'm healthy. Brian's healthy. No one's kicked us off the air yet. It's been incredible.
It's surprising to say the least.
Well, until after today's interview, anyway. Today on the show, we've got BL, the handler behind Brian Laughlin. Many of you know him as well as Hudson Hughes. Matt Death Row King. He's handled in feds like 4CW, Death Graps, Apex Wrestling, and Kings Road. He's also been a Fed head, Brian, in feds like CWC, Hollywood Pro, Tony's Cheap Pops, and more.
Time out. Tony's Cheap Pops?
Tony's Cheap Pops Pro Wrestling.
That might be, we got to go back because I don't remember the other one, but that might be my second favorite name of a Fed ever.
Not only is it a great name, Brian, it's a great premise. Tony is, I believe, some kind of like, he's not a used car salesman, but he's kind of got that sleazy vibe to him.
Oh.
And he's always putting writing prompts like, hey, these two wrestlers are going to be your role play. You're going to a car dealership and you have to sell the pay-per-view and a car.
Oh, shit.
As part of your role play. So he's setting people up to write their
like old school local promos for the territory.
Yeah, days. Exactly. It's fun stuff. And Tony, I believe it's on the hiatus at the moment.
Oh.
You hate to see it, but hopefully it comes back soon.
Yeah, hiatus to see it.
You hiatus. All right. They hate us because they ain't us.
Anus.
All right. Moving on. We've got BL on the show. It's a great interview. I hope everyone enjoys it. As you know, the E88 podcast is a little streamlined these days, but we're coming at you. In 2 weeks, we've got another episode where we're going to be interviewing another fellow E88er, and we're going to be talking to Godly Ken Davison. Sorry about that. And not only that, but Brian, 2 weeks after that, it's time to go live. 2 weeks. We're going live with the Brian interview here on the E88 podcast.
Holy hell.
Are you ready?
I am not at all.
I know. That's why I'm giving you 4 weeks notice. Let's get ready. Let's prepare.
I remember nothing. There's a large reason why the only interview I ever did before being a part of the podcast was as a Fed head because yeah. You know how you put out the question of the week, or not the question of the week. Yep. You know how you put out the interview questions for the
guests.
For the guests, I'm gonna do one within depth for the people who've handled with me, like, hey, tell me things I did.
Question of the week. What have I done before?
Yes.
There you have it.
What do you remember me for?
So we're excited to present that to you live on the EFED Podcast Twitch. If you haven't, go on Twitch, give a little search for the EFED Podcast. You'll find us. We're the only one. And when you do, give that little follow button and make sure you tune in for each and every Twitch stream we do, because we're going to be going live a lot in 2022 with that video action and that live action over at twitch.tv/the EFED Podcast.
.tv.
All right, Brian, here's a word from our sponsors before we get to our interview. The EFED Podcast is a totally free podcast that drops each and every single week for your e-wrestling ears on a multitude of apps. If you'd like to support the show, however, the best way to do so is over at patreon.com/EFED Podcast. For as little as $3 a month, you can support both Brian and myself as we crank out more e-wrestling content with perks such as early releases and special Discord designations. And if that's not enough EW action for you, jump up to the $10 a month tier and you can get a free EWTs t-shirt design, early and ad-free editions of the show, as well as access to our monthly Q&As, bad graps, and more. And if you'd like to be a sponsor on the show and get your ad played, the best way to do that is the sponsor level on Patreon, with all of the previous perks, plus weekly commercials on the show. Check it out over at patreon.com/EFED Podcast. We greatly appreciate your consideration.
Occupy Pro Wrestling, putting the smart back into smart, Mark, since 2012, with a community on Discord and message boards, merchandise, a weekly vodcast on Twitch, and much more. Check out everything from us and our site partners at occupyprowrestling.com.
EFED Tees, the #1 source for EFED merchandise, offering custom merchandise made for your wrestler, tag team, stable, or EFED. Whether you want a high-quality t-shirt, face mask, hoodie, hat, it doesn't matter. We can help you out over at efedtees.com. Do you have a custom logo for your wrestler? Awesome. We're going to slap it on a shirt and help you out real fast. If not, no problem at all. We have a custom design service too. You can work with a graphic artist to get the perfect design made for your character. Go on over to EWTees.com and click on Want a Shirt to get your shirt started. EFedTees.com.
For over a decade, Defiance Wrestling has redefined what an E-Fed can be. An angle fed with a rich history and a colorful cast of characters, Defiance Wrestling offers a drama-free environment with some of the most experienced and talented writers in the history of the game, with a level of consistency that few other promotions can offer. With on-time events, micro offerings, and even a long-form in-character radio show, as well as a forum home on the classic FWrestling.com, nobody, I said it, nobody does fantasy wrestling quite like Defiance. Come, see what all the buzz is about. Come check out DefianceWrestling.com. You heard me. It's DefianceWrestling.com. I'll see you there.
Hey everybody, we're back for another interview here on the EFED Podcast. Today we're joined by BL, the handler behind Brian Laughlin, Hudson Hughes, and Matt Death Row King. He's handled in places like 4CW, Death Graps, Apex Wrestling, and Kings Road. Also ran a few feds, CWC, Hollywood Pro, Tony's Cheaps Pops, and more. BL, how we doing, buddy?
A lot. Not as good now that you just vocalized all of the things I've done at EFED.
You just realized how long you've been doing this shit.
Yeah, and the fact that, like you said, because obviously I'm not going to list every character I have or every fed that I've failed at. But you just said like 3 or 4 of them, and I'm just like, holy shit, what the fuck am I doing?
Well, you're going to have to answer for all of them right here.
I know, unfortunately, I know.
Well, let's start at the beginning, man. First, how are you? How are you doing today? Let's get to that. Happy New Year! This is the new year of the EFED Podcast. So
I know I'm excited. I'm honored to finally be on, considering everything in 2021. So I'm not gonna lie, when I got the DM, I screenshot it like a fucking fanboy and sent it, and I was like, this is actually gonna happen after everything. So
I'm not scared. You know, we talk a little shit. We have fun on Twitter. I'm okay with joking around on Twitter.
Yeah.
It's all good. So it is what it is. You know, people don't like lists. I'm cool with that.
I completely forgot about the list. That's funny.
People don't like the top 100. I get it. If your name doesn't appear sometimes, you know, hey.
Yeah, that just means what it means is your friends didn't come through for you.
That's what it means. That your friends didn't vote. I mean,
yeah,
it is what it is. It was a popularity contest. It's all for fun.
100%. Yeah, and to be fair, like in certain sides of the hobby, like I know a lot of you guys over. What do you guys like the micro side of the universe?
Defiance, yeah, there's micros.
Yeah, like Defiance, like you guys. I feel like I hate to say are a closer knit group, but like I feel like there might be less backstabbing and shit talking and hate than there is like on our side, where it's like super creative writing and so many different opinions based on like character handling and you know, we always make a joke about like blocks and walls of text, and everybody just has a different opinion, but like everybody shits on each other. And I mean, you guys are on Twitter, you've seen it. Like one person's trying to get someone to join their Fed 1 second, the next they're just telling them that they're dog shit and they're not a good writer. So
as soon as they're rejected, right?
Yeah, and then they tell 5 people don't vote for that asshole in the top 100, and the next thing you know, Brian Williams is underneath Miles Blake. It is what it is.
Amazing. Oh, there you have it, folks. That's how it works. So, yeah, no, everyone's voting over at Defiance. I think they got like 40 handlers too, so that helps.
Yeah, that does help. Yeah.
But no, let's talk about you, man. When did you get into pro wrestling as a fan?
Oh, as a fan, I mean, when I was like 2 or 3, my uncle used to like bootleg tape all of the WrestleMania. So we had a bunch of them, and I would just watch them back to back to back as a kid. And then eventually, I figured out that, what was it, like WWF Superstars or something was on Saturday mornings. And yeah, that the rest is just history. I'm still obsessed with it. Unfortunately, it never leaves the ethos of my life. Yeah, I do still watch, not as much as I used to. Myself and a couple other handlers that I associate with outside of the game via text message, we still get together in Discord and kind of like Mystery Science Theater 3000 or whatever, like WrestleManias and Royal Rumbles and like, basically just shit on the product. But we'll get together for pay-per-views sometimes on Discord and hang out and watch like AEW or WWE or maybe sometimes GCW. But yeah, I try to keep up to date as much as I can. That's
a good deal. I watch the Rumble or something, but yeah, I can't watch the weeklies.
No, I'm not doing Monday night. I mean, like, listen, as a kid, I remember thinking to myself, like, man, wrestling Monday through Friday would be so dope. That would be so cool. It's here. Yeah, and now it's here, and I have 4 streaming services I can watch wrestling on, and I'm just sitting here watching the fucking Office for the 9th time. Like, that's what I'm doing instead.
Yeah, there you go. Well, who were your favorite wrestlers growing up, and what about now?
Growing up, this will surprise nobody, but the Ultimate Warrior, just because he was loud, roided out of his mind, and constantly flexing and running around like a madman. I liked obviously Hulk Hogan too, which like kind of dates me a little bit because I was born in before the 90s.
There you go.
So I was like, I'm not giving an exact date. I was born before the 90s, so like I did get to see like the tail end of like the 80s wrestlers and then get to experience the awfulness of the early 90s in WWE. So
bad.
I mean, like Mr. Perfect, Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, those are probably my top 3.
And what about today?
Today, the list is so long. As far as like guys that I like thoroughly support and enjoy, Kevin Owens is a huge one. I think like his body of work and the fact that he's, I hate to say it, but like the first chubby guy to make it in the WWE, really, without being chubby being his gimmick.
Right.
Like there was always fat guys. There was fat guys, but they were like showing their ass, falling on top of people, and like here's Kevin Owens doing frog splashes with his fucking gut hanging out. Like that was awesome to see, as because I grew up a chubby kid, and so like Kevin Owens. I'm a big fan of Cody Rhodes just because he is the son of Dusty, and everything that he does, like he bets on himself, which is cool.
Yeah,
and I know, right? Listen, when you do something like AEW, go get that bag, go back and win that championship that your dad never won. Like it is what it is, Oh well. But yeah, I would say those 2 are probably the 2 that I support the most.
No, that's a good list. I mean, people come on here and I hear the same names all the time, and those are 2 that I don't hear very often. So that's pretty cool. Kevin Owens, guy I noticed in CZW for the same reason. I'm like, holy cow, that guy's chubby and athletic.
Yeah, chubby, athletic. He had an awful beard back then too. Like I don't know, somehow he magically grew a good beard. I don't know if he just like gave it time, but it gives some people hope.
There you go. Maybe there's beard steroids. Who knows?
Yeah. Oh God, I wish. I would be taking them.
Well, what about e-wrestling? How did you find this weird world? We all stumble onto it somehow.
Yeah, like I was on the internet, you know, and after I saw my first beheading video, I decided to start watching or looking for things that were more, I don't know, things that I was interested in. So I just literally typed in prowrestling.com and I had no idea that was a website.
There you go.
And then they had forums where people would talk shit. And after I was continuously banned from the TNA forum, I eventually scrolled down and saw like e-wrestling and I was like, what's that? And then, you know, I got into it and, I think the idea that I had the opportunity to just like literally shit talk as a kid, like I could just shit talk somebody.
Yeah.
And, you know, I grew up a fan of Opie and Anthony. I don't know if you know who they are.
Yeah. The radio guys.
Yeah. The radio guys. Yeah. So their big gimmick was always just shitting on each other, always making fun of each other. So that was something that my friends did even as a young age. And then I was like, I can do this like literally on the internet. I can just type shit. Yeah, no, like fast forward all these years, and that's just me on Twitter.
That's just Twitter. Yeah, that's what Twitter was made for.
Yeah. It really was. Twitter was made for e-wrestling. So yeah, I just found it on prowrestling.com forums, and then eventually, you know, there was like it was like Chris Hart's top 50 e-feds or whatever.
Yeah, where you go into just a list of constantly evolving lists.
Yes, a constantly evolving list that sometimes you would click on them and they'd just be dead ass links.
Most of the time, yeah.
Yeah, most of the time. With great graphics, though. Like, great graphics, flashy stuff, catch your attention, you click on it dead. Hasn't been a post in 2 years.
Kind of like today.
Yeah. So, yeah, oh, God, I know, right? Like all my Angle feds. So, yeah, no, I just kept, I guess, like, you just leveling up. Like, I just started at ones that were, like, TNA feds. And then eventually it was like, you know, you have to create your own wrestler. And I was like, oh, shit. Like, I have to figure something out by myself. And yeah, and now here I am still.
So who were you shit talking as when you first started with TNA wrestlers?
Oh God, this is bad. Hardcore Hack, aka the Sandman.
The Sandman, yeah, there you go.
The Sandman, because I would watch like ECW on TNN, and I loved the Sandman. And then like I don't know what happened. Eventually ECW, you learn they got kicked off of TNN. But I remember TNA weekly pay-per-views popped up, and one time I bought one, and here's Hardcore Hack. You're like, or maybe that was his WCW name. I'm not even sure. But yeah, Hardcore Hack. I was like, yeah, let's do that. We'll just do the Sandman. Because like literally he's just shit talking. Basically just like, yeah, shit talking. He was I hate to say a poor man Stone Cold, but that's kind of what I played him as, was a poor man Stone Cold Steve Austin. So
okay, so when you go to create your first character, what's that experience like for you, and what do you come up with? How bad was it?
Oh, his name was Maverick. Because I was a big Top Gun fan, and yeah, I'm trying to think of who the first poser was that I used, or like the first like pick base.
Yeah,
it was just like a big. I think he was actually a bodybuilder, because I've always just been fascinated with that. So I think it was just some big roided bald guy. And his name was Maverick. And of course, like everybody's first character, he was rich and he drove nice cars and just all that lame shit. He was better than everybody and genetic. I used to say genetically jacked because that's what Scott Steiner always used to say.
Yep.
So like genetically gifted freak and all that shit. So I was basically just a bald Scott Steiner ripoff when I created my first character.
So you went from Sandman to Steiner. You just leveled up your muscle is what you did.
I did, yeah. I went from drunk muscles to roid muscles is basically what I did. Yeah, unfortunately.
Okay, so you're in roleplay feds, I assume, at first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
And so when do you really get a hold of it and really get into it to where you are this character, you are doing longer runs, you're winning championships?
Mm-hmm. So I eventually had someone tell me that, like, hey, your character's not deep enough. He's literally just like, they sent me like links to all these like website forums, and it was like, there was 42 different people just like me using different names. And I was like, okay. So like this guy was like, create something more like you. So like literally like a fucking idiot, I put my first name, my first IRL name on my character.
Yeah.
And true story, not too many people know this, but Laughlin is Tommy Dreamer's last name. In real life. And yes, and Tommy Dreamer was another one of my like favorite wrestlers growing up, because again, chubby guy, doesn't look like he should be a wrestler, eventually wearing sweatpants with his tits hanging out. I love him though. Like I still love Tommy Dreamer to this day. And so I was like, okay, Brian Laughlin, like that's me. So I don't know. I didn't really get a grasp of writing for like, I would say like good writing for like 4 or 5 years. And I took, I think I took like a creative writing class in college. And I finally was like, you know, I learned how to use words, I guess, you know, and I like in setting a scene.
Yeah.
That was one of the biggest things was like, I just didn't set scenes. I just, you know, talk shit while sitting in the passenger seat of a Lamborghini or whatever, driver's seat of a Lamborghini.
One word descriptions or one sentence descriptions.
Yeah. Like he takes a drag of his cigarette. Like we get it. You're fucking mysterious. So yeah, I eventually was Brian Laughlin, and I was, you know, the kind of, he's evolved throughout the years too, where he just eventually, he went from like being like a college dropout, which I wasn't, but I wish I would have. I was a college dropout, former athlete guy. Like at one point, I think Matt Leinart was literally my pick base, like the former quarterback. Yeah.
The
like,
Cardinals. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I literally, it was a spiraling mess, but it wasn't until, I think UWF, like Universal Wrestling, one of the 42,000 UWFs, I'm sure.
Right, I'm sure, yeah.
But this one was ran by a guy named Glenn Legend, who I am not on great terms with anymore. But you know, that group really helped me like evolve my character and like found like you know, like to like tap into things that I guess listen, it's like the Writers Guild now, but like tap into things that like trigger you. Tap into things that like give you an emotional response and then write about them, like put that into your character. So like that's eventually what I did. And then, you know, that way you're like writing with passion. You're not just like writing shit to try and win a fake contest for a fake title. So,
well, that's more than most people do. I mean, I would say that's what the vast majority of people are doing, just typing something to win a title.
Yeah. And I think it's funny because like,
myself included,
my friends. Yeah, but you guys are good. You guys are great though. Like I love going over and like clicking on Defiance and like I read some of the role plays over there. And what's the other? I feel bad. What's the Fed that Mike Best is in? The other one,
High Octane.
Yes, High Octane. Like all the stuff that crew puts out, like that stuff's so entertaining. Like I get why Jake wants to go over there. It's not. It's like you still have to be as creative, just in a different way, and it's not as like fucking taxing on your entire existence, like writing is on the other side, the dark side of IFA.
Well, you got Brian Laughlin, and you're having success in the UWF. Where do you go from there? You say you're on bad terms with the guy. Is it from that run?
Yeah. I mean, like, there. You know what? Fuck it. No, this is the EFED podcast. I'm doing this. He was kind of a weird dude. Like he was kind of a very possessive guy when it came to a lot of the female characters. Which I guess is probably still a thing till this day. But
yep.
I started to notice it as I got older because he was a little bit older than me, and I was like, this is kind of fucking weird. And one girl actually faked her own death. Like I remember, like
a handler or a character.
Yeah, a handler. A handler faked her own death. And like, not to say just to get away from him, but like, I can't imagine it was anything but that, because he was very weird about the fact that their characters shipped together. And, you know, we were in like all these back when MSN or Yahoo chat or whatever the fuck was still a thing. It was very weird. The vibes were very weird as I got older, because I kind of quote unquote grew up in that Fed, like through my college years and everything. Like I was in that Fed and friends with everybody there. But yeah, I remember she's like, oh yeah, this is so-and-so's cousin. I'm not going to say her name, but she's like, This is so-and-so's cousin. Unfortunately, she passed away. And I was like, holy shit, bro. Like I've known this person on the internet for like 4 or 5 years. Like that's really bad. And then literally, I don't know, 8 months later, she popped up somewhere else and somebody was like, I think you should see this. And I was like, no fucking way. And she's still roaming around Twitter, EFED somewhere. But I remember reaching out to her recently, or about within the last year, and just to see how she was. And like, I hold no hard feelings. And that's the thing, is like everybody was mad at her. And like when they were mad at her for doing that, like I get it, but that's when I left. And I was like, you're a fucking creep. And I just, you know, had one of my Brian Laughlin blow-ups where I fucking go way overboard on all the shit that I was saying and burn all the bridges. And then that's how I found Jason Cash. And Jason Cash brought me to 4CW. So around what time is this? What year, roughly? Oh, my God. I have no idea. Perry's good with years. I'm fucking awful with time. So I mean, I'd say like 2012-ish, 2013. Like I was on the ground level of 4CW with Jason Cash and Perry. I remember being in like a Skype chat or whatever. And then I just stopped e-fetting for like 2 or 3 years. And then when I came back, 4CW was like big. And I was like, oh, okay, like there's a lot of good quality writers here. So I decided to embarrass myself by rejoining and trying to be, some fucking emo tattoo guy like everybody else was too. And, that didn't, yeah, of course. And that did not go over well with that crowd. So, yeah.
Well, good. Well, you went to 4CW, and yeah, I remember back, I want to say 2014, 2015, I was in UTA. Ben Halkins.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And there was like 4CW, there was UTA, there was I want to say How, and there was another Fed that was pretty big. I can't remember the fourth one. I don't remember who it was, but I was familiar with 4CW at the time.
Yeah. I mean, those top 4 Feds right there were like ones that I like when I reached back out to Jason, like to see like if the people were still e-fetting. He said like, oh yeah, like there's this e-fed, and he's like, but I think you would enjoy the crowd that e-fed's here. So, and I think, but what he meant by that was just like, we're toxic, so you'll enjoy this.
Yes.
So we're not nice to each other.
Well, that's always fun. I mean, obviously you said you grew up in a shit talking environment, and that's what you enjoy doing. So
yeah,
whatever. You can't hold everybody's hand, right? So
that is true. Yeah. That's the evidence of that is coming out with like the Angle eFed Twitter world. Like people, I don't know where they come from anymore as far as eFedders. Like I don't know how they get involved in this, but when they figure out that we're not going to hold their hand and let them like get accustomed to it, it gets ugly quick. So
I've seen it. So you had your run in 4CW, and what kind of success do you have there? Obviously, you're there for quite some time.
Yeah. At first, not a whole lot. Like I said, I mean, I'm still a decent writer, but I was still trying to do dark emo shit. I was a big fan. I'm a big fan of dark writers like Edgar Allan Poe. I used to read a lot of that in college. And so I was like, if I could, like, I like that. Like, I like to channel that kind of stuff. And I didn't always do it very well. And then I decided to also go on a Make 4CW Great Again tour, which didn't go over very well with this crowd. As I'm not a conservative guy, regardless of what Jake will tell you about his character shows. I'm not a conservative guy, but I didn't realize that was like early 2016 or like I should say late 2015, and I didn't realize obviously what was going to happen with all that fucking political fiasco. But I did kind of do that, and I think deep down, I was taking a lot of out of character shots on people's characters by trying to play it like baseline, and didn't see a lot of success. I think Perry threw me a title, some fucking XTV championship or whatever. But then I eventually left again because of real life reasons, and then came back. And then that's, I think, when I started. That's when I won the 4CW World Championship and started actually beating quality writers and not just because I used to just be kind of the guy who wrote in the first 2 matches of the show that would beat new people that either would fucking no show or would just write some of the worst shit you've ever read. And I would just chalk that like a W. I remember reading it and I'd be like, well, that's a W. Like, that's fucking easy. Because I would put my role plays off like most people do till the very last minute. And I would always have to gauge all right, how much effort do I have to put into this?
100%.
And I remember, time after time, it was dog shit effort on writers that were bad and half the time didn't show up or didn't even finish half their bio. And so, eventually I started beating quality writers. I know everybody hates him and I don't always see eye to eye, but again, I've said his name. So Jason Cash, back then people were still entertained by his writing back then. And, people, I shouldn't say still, he doesn't write well now, but I don't think he role plays anymore is what I meant. But people were entertained by his writing and they thought it was fun and funny. And, so I beat him and I couldn't tell you because, again, I'm not very good. But I was just beating good, decent writers and eventually growing and actually asking for feedback because I never did that before. And
do you think that was what was making you better?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Because, someone like Perry Wallace, who, is a complete shithead and most people hate him, but he is brutally honest, almost in a borderline autistic way, where he will tell you very, very, very mean things about yourself and how bad your writing is, but he will also help you on the flip side. So yeah, when I started asking for feedback, Perry gave me a lot of feedback, and it really helped me be a better writer.
Well, that's what you want from a Fed head, right? That's what you hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So after your 4CW run, what happens next?
What happened? I don't know. 4CW, I think 4CW closed or went on hiatus or something. And I went to, at the very end of my 4CW run, I saw this Fed, this monster, this juggernaut called Death Trip Wrestling rising. And they used to have, I remember like kind of reading it because there were some good writers over there, but there was also someone pretending to be like a lesbian dragon, and that was their world champion. And I was like, what the fuck is going on over there? But also some of the writers that I respected a lot were over there, and a lot of stuff. And like I would read the shows, and I was like, wow, this person like actually likes wrestling. They watch wrestling. And yeah, then I was like, well, let's try. Once that person kind of phased themselves out, and I saw the way that Death Trip was like getting other names, I was like, oh, like maybe I'll go right over there. And I won a couple matches there, and then and I know Lisa asked me like, do I regret bringing Brian Laughlin to 4CW? I'm like, I really don't. Or bringing him to Death Trip. I mean,
yeah,
I really don't. I mean, I know he had like he was like this good status, but like to me he's never really been that god status that some people are like, oh, Brian Laughlin, like he's a good writer, because like everybody's their worst critic, so I would cringe at some of the ways that I phrased things and certain words that I would use, and the fact that I was always good for like one or two typos in every single RP, because I hate proofreading my shit, because that means I have to like acknowledge
I wrote it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm going back and I was like, bro, am I really like shit talking someone named fucking Brennan Devlin? Like, am I really out here talking shit about somebody? So yeah, no, I mean, I went to Death Trip, and same thing. Like that Fed really pushed me too, because like their word, what was it, like 10K word limit. So I had to tap back. Yeah. So I had to tap back into like, is it 10K or 6K? I don't know. But I was writing like 3K. And I had to tap back into like the old days of eFed where people would write, whole ass blogs. Yeah. Just to like win an Intercontinental Championship or something, but with like 42 scenes and a whole like sonnet in between. So yeah, no, like bringing Laughlin to Death Trip, I think was cool, because it not only did it show me that like, hey, I have a lot of shit going, like there's like shit going on in real life, and I have a real life, like leave that shit for other people. Like go do angle feds. Go do angle feds where you could be creative on Twitter, talk shit with your friends, maybe, create your own fed and let your friends write funny shit to entertain you. And but like leave that 10 and 6K shit for other people. Like that's not where you are anymore in your eFed career.
It's not for me, that's for sure.
No, give me a micro fed. I'm all there for that 750 word count.
ClassicWrestling.com. All right, sorry, slip that in there. All right, so you're in Death Trip.
Wrestling.com. That's a very good gimmick. I like that. Okay. Go on.
So you're in Death Trip. You bring Brian Laughlin in, and you're meeting what I assume new friends as well.
Yeah, no, I made a lot of new friends there. A lot, because a lot of my friends from 4CW had went to Death Trip too, so it's kind of like a blending of very easy transition. It was a good easy blend. Like that's how I'm pretty sure that's how I kind of met like Lisa Carana, or wherever you want to call her, Lisa Selden. I think also I knew Zombie, but didn't really talk to Zombie a whole lot back in the 4CW days. So getting to write alongside Zombie was fun. Getting to write against them, I think Ethan Giles, and I also got to just read, some of the craziest deathmatch shit. If you haven't read like Death Trip Wrestling and the Yamashi Promotions, or however you say it, that stuff is something he puts so much effort into that Fed. That definitely check that out. So,
okay, yeah, I used to be in some deathmatch stuff, so I'll check that out.
Yeah.
After that, what happened? Where do you go next? Do you take a break or?
Yeah, Laughlin pretty much, I put him on the shelf, like as far as writing him goes, just because like, I used to joke around on Twitter a lot and say like, all right, it's RP time, like time to fucking chug two bangs and listen to, 80s dark synthwave music for me to like get into the headspace of writing this like, guy with a fucking split personality, but like not in a way that makes you cringe, and has his own demons like I did. And like I put a lot of myself into Laughlin. So a lot of the shit that I was writing was just like me projecting what was going on in my life. And eventually it was to the point where I was like, I have to you know, it was just so taxing, which is like what the fuck am I doing? It's EFED. Like, this is supposed to be fun.
Yep.
You know, like, this is my escape. This is not me, like, having to dig up, you know, hateful shit in my life just so I can, you know, talk about deathmatch. So when I lost eventually, I was like, you know what? Like, I had a good run with him. I did what I wanted to do. I brought him from absolute, you know, being Matt Leinhart to, you know, being
deathmatch wrestler.
Yeah, to being a deathmatch wrestler, being a world champ in 3 different feds. Like, that's pretty dope. I'll take that on my belt. And yeah, I just decided to fuck off and go do a bunch of goofy angle things. And now I'm the person that I used to make fun of with like 12, I say 12 conservatively, like 12, 15 characters that go into E-Feds that literally die off after 2 shows. And then I'm stuck with this fucking character who, you know, has a baseball mask and you know, his name is fucking literally Hometown Slugger. Like, what am I going to do with this? It was meant for a goofy Fed, and now I'm stuck with it. So yeah, that's what I do now. I'm basically a shit meme poster of E-Fed now. So.
Well, that's what it's evolved into.
It really has, man. It's crazy.
Comedy writing and making people laugh is almost the new entertainment.
Yeah, well, and like you know, Jake obviously being one of them. And
yes.
I hate giving him props, but because
hilarious.
Be like, yeah, Jake is fucking hilarious. Every character he comes up with is hilarious. Even when I'm cringing, like, he didn't really name it fucking tapioca puddings, right? Like, that's not even, like, he used to try. Like, there used to be an effort put into these names.
Now it's literally a snack pack.
Literally Muriel or whatever, however the fuck you say that name. Like, what? Like, you're just like seeing things on TV. And you're just like, yeah, that's my new E-Fed character. Like, fucking My Pillow guy is this next one. It's going to be My Pillow. And that's his next character.
Hilarious. Jake's fucking hilarious. And I caught him in How, and then, you know, part of the Egg Bandits. Then I've seen other stuff he's done with Muriel Puddings on Twitter and linked to some of his RPs. And he's just unbelievably funny.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, like, when I started that, what do you call it? Like the Tony's Cheap Pops. Like, he was one of the driving forces. Why? Because I had an idea behind having prompts for each RP.
Yes.
Like, here's
I remember
where
this.
you are.
You were at a car dealership. Yeah.
Yeah.
I caught this on Twitter when you were doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, here you're at a car dealership and you're doing a commercial for, you know, whoever car dealer it is. Like, here's your prompt. And Jake knocked it out of the park every fucking time. Like, Jake did, who's somebody else? MK, Michael Kelly, he killed it. You know, quality writers. Like, I wanted to make an E-Fed, kind of transitioning obviously from being an E-Fed writer. I wanted to make an RP Fed where not only did I get to give my friends a platform to be creative and different, but also, like, you know, kind of like in a King's way, where, like, you know, dance for me, clown, like, make me laugh kind of way.
But
like,
really,
you know,
you're also tapping into their creativity and making them go outside the box.
Yeah, and, like, you know, I mean, I didn't want to, you know, I don't pump myself up too much, but yeah, because I was like, I remember there was one Fed back in the day that I was a part of for a heartbeat, as it lasted, like many Feds do, but that was his whole thing, was like prompts. Like, it wasn't funny prompts. It was like, you know, like, you're down in the basement cellar of a fucking prison. Like, how are you going to do this? But I was like, if I could take that idea and move it into, like, comedy writing, like, how funny would that be? And, like, there's all kinds of ideas I still have written up for Tony's Cheap Pops. I just, you know, real life has its way of fucking you sometimes. But like, a lot of the funny ones I've shared with some of my friends, like, you know, like, you're tasked with babysitting Tony's children for the day while he's fucking passed out drunk at an autograph signing. Like, you know, like, explain to them why your dad should, or why their dad should make you the champion of the Fed. You know what I mean? Like, just dumb shit like that people would appreciate. Just reading something different like that. So that's kind of where I went with, like, Tony's Cheap Pops. And like I said, Jake was one of the driving forces behind that. And yeah, he's great at it. I feel like you could throw anything at Jake besides, you know, like I mean, I know he's done some serious stuff, but I would love to see him, like, try to play like an actual dark character and see how far it got. But I feel like it would just be like, you know, he's listening to My Chemical Romance and just, like, he would still make it funny. He would still make it funny.
That's the problem, though. Like, he'd be bursting at the seams to make it funny.
Yeah, 100%. Of course he would.
All right, I think we put Jake over enough.
Yeah, I agree. I'm fucking tired of that guy. He got his fucking Georgia National Championship. Like, enough already.
He got his interview. Let's move on. Oh, all right. So how was running your first Fed?
I mean, besides like I don't mind match writing. I like match writing. I think it's because I like pro wrestling. Like I like the, what do you call it? Like the scientific breakdown of each move and like the chemistry that wrestlers have between each other. So I literally would watch, this is one of the things that my old friend John, he used to handle Bronx, Valescence. He would tell me like, you're crazy. Like I would have to write a triple threat match for something for like CWC Hollywood. And I would go watch a triple threat match with 3 wrestlers that were similar to the wrestlers I had to write, just to kind of get the vibe of what it's like. And a lot of it was like PWG and where else? Like CZW, Ring of Honor, like that kind of stuff. And I would watch those kinds of shows to kind of get that vibe. And I still did the same thing for Tony's Cheap Pops, but it was like indie shows on IWTV.com. So like, you know, like weird random ones. And I would like pop in and watch those and be like, okay, that's kind of funny. That's goofy. Like I honestly, I know I didn't say that Joey Janela is one of my favorite wrestlers now, but like he is because of the dumb shit that he does that inspires me not only to write like matches, but like just like whole ass characters. Like he'll do like 2 things and I'm like, you could base an entire character on what Joey Janela is doing right now.
Like when he was doing the stuff with was it Trump rallies? Yeah,
the Trump rally guy. Yeah. Like that's a character. Like Jake will say that's me in real life, and he'll say that's Hudson Hughes. But that's a character right there. Like, you know, this ain't my wrestling, like that kind of guy.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. The match writing was fun. I never put deadlines on anything because I love to procrastinate, so I definitely never did that. But the biggest thing for me, like being a Fed head, is like I didn't want to let anybody down, and I think that was one of the biggest things. Is the reason why I stopped like with Tony's Cheap Pops because of real life, and I was like the cards started to get a little bit further away from each other. The results were a little bit further away, and I don't like letting my friends down. That's like one of my big things. So I didn't want to let my friends down and continue and like not only make my shows maybe shittier, but also like, you know, late and like, you know, unforgot like my boat show that took like fucking 14 months to come out. Like
I still see the jokes on Twitter.
Yeah. Like Hudson Hughes boat cruise. Like I didn't want to let my friends down. So eventually, you know, you get to a point where you're like, well, is it going to be quality stuff or are you just going to write it to get it out?
To get it don't finished. Want to do that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's a mixed bag with being a Fed head. Yeah, you have the responsibility of people waiting on something that you're putting together, but then there's the fun part, being creative and throwing stuff out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And then asking your friends for feedback on shows too is always. I liked that more than I liked asking my friends for feedback on my RPs. Like I never sent my shit to anybody, but I always would ask like, "Hey, how did you like your match that I wrote you in?" Like I've never had a Fed head come to me and say that. Because when it was always like weird to me, like a couple of my characters would do some shit. Like, you know, like one time Perry Wallace wrote Brian Laughlin getting beat by a fucking drop kick. And I was like, and like, it was a joke on Twitter for like 6 months where I was like, yeah, or like a fucking drop kick. And, so like, I never wanted one of my like characters to be like one of the guys I had responsibility of writing to be like, what the fuck do you mean I got Schoolboy rolled up 8 seconds into my match? You know, like, I was always like, hey, how did you like it? Like, what did you want me to do better? Like, how do you feel like I portrayed your character? And, you know, again, we don't want to put him over, but like, I loved asking Jake because Jake would tell me like, this was funny. I didn't get this. This was okay. Like, that was good. Same thing. Michael Kelly. Who else? Brian Williams. He gave me some feedback too. So I like to go to my friends and, you know, either have them make fun of me. But when I was a Fed head, I really liked when they would give me feedback on my shows.
Absolutely, and that's the return deal. Hopefully, you're getting it both ways.
Right, you should be. Yeah.
So let's do something a little different. Let's throw in a couple of fan questions in the middle of this because you're hitting on all the topics that they're asking about. So
I know.
I feel like we should just mix it in.
Yeah, why not?
We'll start with Lynn's. At Hail the Queen LT. Yes. Oh, God, hello, Lynn's. Big BL fan. First Q. Why haven't you replied to my DM yet?
First answer, because another one, I would love to join, what she has going on. I just definitely don't want to, again, like not have the time with life and everything, but like, if I were to write again, like she's the first person I would go to because I feel like she was another one. I forgot to name her, but I loved going to her for feedback on my shows because she was so, I feel like also like passionate about wrestling, but also about comedy. and the respect, because I didn't really know Lynn's outside of just Jake. But then, like, you know, the top 100 list comes out, and I was like, okay. Like, apparently I have to go read all her shit. You know what I mean? Like, apparently, you know, all the respect she has. And I was like, all right, let's go. So, yeah, no, the reason is because, first of all, I don't ever reply to DMs by my friends. Second of all, because I do want to join, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't want to let Lynn's down. I don't want to, you know, keep just creating new fucking characters, and because I'm running out of Google numbers for Twitter accounts. So,
well, second Q, is Tony's divorce finalized yet? And if so, when is Cheap Pops coming back?
So Tony's divorce, kayfabe, is finalized. My story that I kind of wanted to roll with was that Tony is no longer because of like wrestling. His wife is going to end up getting half of all the money he makes wrestling wise.
Okay.
But Tony is going to run a circus that just happens to have pro wrestling in it. But obviously he has to also have elements of a circus. So Tony's Big Top was actually one of the running names that I was thinking of. Tony's Big Top. And yeah, so that's kind of that's the story that I've been brewing up in my head lately. And yeah, I would love to fire that back up. And that's kind of where I am Google Doc skeleton wise. That's just kind of all I have right now. I still have the same cast, the same guys. One of the things I'm trying to work out is if I would still go the RP route. I want to, because that's obviously where you get the most out of the characters, like Lynn's character. Honestly, I don't know if it was supposed to be comedy, but like one of the funniest characters I've ever read. What's it? Johnny.
It was absolutely supposed to be comedy. Yes.
It's one of the greatest characters I've ever read, because it just reminds me of like who American Tommy is in real life. And so I hope that's why she wrote him like that. But yeah, no, Tony, he's going to buy a circus. So there's going to be like maybe not an elephant, but also maybe like a baby tiger that he stole as the circus animal. So we'll see. We'll figure it out.
Tony's got a few ideas.
He does. Tony has.
He's just trying he's trying to get past the alimony is what he's trying to do.
Yeah, you're basically Tony's a scam artist. He'll figure it out in the long run.
Third Q is, if you were stranded on a desert island with at Wrigley's Finest, what flavor Bang are you drinking, which you did mention already?
Radical Skedaddle.
Radical Skedaddle.
I love it. First of all, it's the dumbest fucking name. Like Jack,
I love that you know the name. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Jack, the CEO of Bang. I mean, he literally started with like lemon drop, root beer, blue raz. Now there's like whole lot of chocolata, and I'm just like, what are we doing? Like, where are we going with this? This doesn't make any sense.
There is no end. Yes.
No, there is no end. Just more colors, more bright colors, more girls in jumpsuits. Sell the energy drink. Go out there, whores. Do it. So that's Jack. Not me. I didn't say that. Jack said it.
Well, very good. So what's next after was Tony's Cheap Pops the first Fed that you ran?
No, so I read back in, do you remember the CWC, the Championship Wrestling Coalition?
I do not. But I took a big gap in between, so it could have been.
Yeah. So it was like it was one of like the craziest, most organic thing I've ever seen in EFED, where a bunch of people from different corners of EFED got together and was like, hey, what if we did like an NWA Old Territory type deal?
Okay.
And we started with like 6 territories, I think, and it eventually got too big, like most things do, and the group DM chat turned into a fucking shit show where everybody was just
as it does.
Yeah, as it does. It used to be supportive, and there was like schedules. So like one Fed had Monday, one Fed had Tuesday, and it was ran by a complete sociopath by the name of Cody, who used to handle Callum. I don't remember what the first name was, but Callum wins. But a complete sociopath. He loved that all these people were working for him, but he also wrote once in a Royal Rumble with like 121 participants. like real suicidal shit. Like he was in it. He loved it.
I guess.
So yeah, that was like CWC. So it was like Hollywood was the California Fed, and that was the first. That's when like Hudson Hughes was kind of really born as like the GM, quote unquote, of that Fed. And it just gave me a chance to basically be a shit heel. Like all good, like bad guy, what do you call them? Authority figures.
Yes.
That was Hudson. So that's kind of how he started. And it started with, it was funny because CWC Hollywood had a lot of the shit that I hated in it. Like it had all those, characters that were old dudes with beards and children that play women, if you catch my vibe. There's someone specific I'm talking about, but I'm not going to say a name. That, you know, or like the fake lesbians and like all that shit. And my goal was to literally try to make them entertaining. I don't think I did I think I did a decent job. I did okay. But in the end, I sabotaged myself because I brought in Brennan Devlin, who they all fucking hate. And I also brought in, he blew it up. I immediately, within 3 days of him being on, like, because he was like coming back to EFED like full time back then. So within like 3 days of him being back to EFED, he literally my DMs were full of like, tell him he's mean, like he can't talk like that about my character, like my character's champion.
My character, right? My character.
Yeah, my character. Yeah, my character. But I literally was like, I needed this. Like, I needed you to remind me that this is a shitty, stupid fucking hobby and I don't want to be a Fed head. Hold on.
I'm just taking notes. When I want to shut down my Fed, I need to recruit.
Brennan Devin, yeah. And I think I also brought in like Alicia Lucas, who is another name that's very polarizing. And then his name is Matt IRL. He used to run some shitty character that used Aleister Black as a pick base. I don't know. He rips off everybody's ideas. I literally was just bringing in like most cancerous people and convincing Cody like, no, man, it's fine. Like, I got it. They're going to be fine. I'm going to keep them out of the group DM. And then literally just one by one, like people were quitting and CWC feds were closing. And yeah. And I was like, you know, this is my chance. I'm out. Like I was like, when Vince brought in the NWO, like gimmicky, you know, like kayfabe to ruin that was me. I brought in Brennan Devlin instead, and he just made lesbian jokes and pissed everybody off. So
I'll kill what I created. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. And I did very well. I killed it very well.
So what do you do after the CWC then? Is that when you go to Tony's, or you have a gap, or what are you doing?
No, there's a huge gap. I mean, that's when after CWC, I wrote CWC because I wasn't like in for CW at the time. I was kind of like on the outside and like just still friends with everybody. And that's when I, like after CWC, I jumped back into 4CW full time and said, I'm never going to be a Fed head again. And then Cody asked me to run. Yeah. And then Cody asked me to run another CWC Fed on like CWC Rebirth, like, you know, volume 2, and that shit closed quick. And then, yeah, like I was always like on both sides of like the Fed head and the, cause I had a lot of time on my hands at the time. And I just kind of had to narrow it down, and I just would rather be a writer, in general. So like whatever was going to be more entertaining for me. If I wanted to, you know, write as, fucking Matt Death Row King as a tag team champion in Death Trip, then I was doing that with Santana. Because that's some of the most fun that I've ever had. Because it was, again, not serious comedy, just dumb shit. Writing about, you know, Matt and Santana working in a Best Buy was literally one of our role plays. And they were working at a Best Buy because Death Trip had taken a sabbatical. And so they were working at working at Best Buy. And then, you know, they obviously find out that Death Trip's coming back, so they beat up everybody at Best Buy. Like that was literally our role play, and we won.
Amazing.
And we won because it was fun. Like it was descriptive, it was funny, and you know, God bless the guy who runs Death Trip. Like he loves creative shit, and so that was really good. Another one of our role plays was like Matt King was like there was a block party, and Matt King was like in someone's house making himself a sandwich, like it just really dumb shit. And so like I really enjoyed that aspect of writing now. So that's kind of where I went with Tony's Cheap Pops. And if I do get back to writing again, it would never be as like a seriously, like, you know, pound my chest, take me seriously. Like it's going to be a like, can I make my friends laugh type of shit.
Absolutely. So, whether it be a Fed or a character.
Right. 100%. Yeah. Like I would love to do a Fed. Don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of good Feds out there right now. I wouldn't want to take attention away from them for 4 weeks before I eventually shut my Fed back down again. So I'd rather just do a character that maybe can pop in and do a couple shows here and there, make some people laugh maybe, because that's how Matt eventually started. But then, you know, we became tag team champions, and Michael Kelly and I, you know, kayfabe, break down the fourth wall. He's Santana. Michael Kelly and I used to DM each other back and forth. Like, if we fucking win with this RP, like we should, like, we're so bad at writing. Like, why are we doing this? And then we would win, and we would both we literally DM each other or text each other now. And we'd be like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, so eventually we actually reached out to Death Trip, and we were like, can you just take the titles off of us? We don't want to write anymore. So,
I mean,
yeah, that's it. that's kind of the end game, is to just kind of be, I guess, decent enough to where your friends want you to write for them so that you feel wanted. And then eventually you're like, no. So like, that's where I am right now.
Well, where do
Like
Apex and Kings Road and all of them tie into this?
I mean, Kings Road and Apex are just like ran by close friends that I give my characters to and trust them that they'll write them decently, and I sell them. And that's kind of why I put them on like the marquee when you're like, oh, give me some feds you were in, because like Apex is a small, like kind of NWA-ish fed, like the new NWA, like NWA Power type deal.
Yeah.
Where it's like kind of old school, kind of not, but like not a lot of flashy like backstage segments that are 15 to 1700 pages or words long. And then Kings Road again is also very like a little bit of humor tossed in there. It's ran by Brian Williams, and it's a little bit of humor tossed in there. And then just a lot of our friends' characters are in Apex and Kings Road, and we try to work with each other as much as we can before we start to hate each other and blow Twitter up with a fucking bullshit argument over a werewolf chat or something stupid like that.
Werewolves, I tell you what, it's a problem.
It was a problem. Thankfully, they're all dead. I mean, thank God all the werewolves are dead. I couldn't be happier.
Well, that's good news for everybody.
It really is.
All right, so where are you now?
Well, I Death Graps with Adrian, aka Amakix. I'm doing Brian Laughlin in Death Graps as kind of like a I don't want to say not Zack Ryder, but just like I'm doing like Brian Laughlin. He used to be a really good big time wrestler, and now he's just a guy who like wants to beat people up in small feds. No offense, Adrian. So yeah, like, and I trust Adrian. Adrian is one of the people that I know like outside of EFED now. Like there's a group of us, like myself, Adrian, who plays Anna, and Luke, who plays Luke, and then also John, who used to play Bronx, and the four of us play video games together a lot. Like we are frequently. They're also the like Discord wrestling group as well. So if I'm going to give my character to somebody, it's going to be them, so that they can, I trust them. They'll have fun with it. I'll sell it. And then also most feds that I'm in nowadays are just like me and my friends and 20 of our characters. So it's a lot easier to follow now than it used to be, I guess. Just because all my friends run feds. So that's nice.
Yeah. Well, it's nice when you can, hang out with your friends and write character and be creative together. I mean, yeah. And you said you're in a lot of Angle feds now.
Yes. Yeah. Mostly Angle feds. Cause like I could just DM like, holy shit, I had this idea. And my friends will be like, yeah, I can run with that. And I'll be like, yeah, and I can sell it. So let's do it. So that's just basically, that's so much easier than having to set up a 4-month program with RPs and hoping that the fed head reads your fucking role play and that you said you wanted to do a headlock for 3 minutes. So you do a headlock for 3 minutes. Like that's the kind of stuff when you just can just mess around with friends and entertain some people. That's the best kind of EFED nowadays anyways, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, let's hit these other questions from friends on Twitter and on Discord. Are you ready?
Friends in quotation.
Quotation
go
marks.
On, yeah.
At Live from the Moon, Brian Williams. Do you believe that the blueberry is a standalone fruit?
The blueberry is it's a standalone fruit. Yes.
It is. There you go.
Yeah.
Admission.
Yeah.
It's also a vehicle on Psych. Okay. Why is you? Oh nope, not reading that one.
Why is that the why is your Twitter or your Google history or whatever?
Browser history, yes sir.
Browser history, yeah, that was a fun one. That was a fun one to read.
Why is chili and Chicago style pizza top tier foods?
Was that from Tommy?
It is.
Let's get into this. Chicago deep dish pizza is the fucking worst. Like I'm sorry, Mikey, if you like it. It's awful. Okay. It's fucking tomato soup with cheese on top inside of a bread bowl.
Tomato soup. I like that.
It's tomato soup with cheese and meat in a fucking bread bowl, and it's not fucking pizza, Tom. I'm sorry. I love you to death. You know that. And no, not doing it. Deep dish pizza is ass. Give me a big foldable New York slice any day of the week. So, yeah. What was the other part of that?
What about chili?
Like?
Chili.
Oh, yeah. My friends who love Skyline chili, also dog shit. Chili in general, again, meat soup. I'm not a big soup guy. Meat soup, not a big fan of it.
Not a big meat sauce guy.
Not a big meat sauce guy, no. So fucking stupid chili on top of a hot dog. Like, just put mustard on it, like an adult.
Well, hold on. You can put chili and mustard on it. That's not exclusive.
Yeah,
they're not mutually exclusive. So
I mustard and chili.
I'm a Skyline chili guy. I can't even argue.
Oh, okay.
So, I'm a fight on that one. I'm a Bengals fan. So
well, congratulations.
I guess. For what?
Yeah. I mean, you made the Super Bowl. That's more than the Browns can fucking say.
Yes, and we got the 31st pick in the draft. Congratulations.
Yeah, that is true. He'll still measure out to be more than what the Browns pick at 19. So
no. I feel you. I feel your pain. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Up until this year, it's been a long run. Okay. Up next is W. Balls 1874 FM.
By the way, this is Perry Wallace, by the way. You have him blocked, I think, on Perry Wallace.
Oh, yes.
So he replied, yeah. So he replied.
Well, he snuck on the show. I'll let it roll. Where's Sadie?
Yeah. So Sadie is a character that Brian Laughlin retconned because it was a friend, and she was a decent writer, and she wanted to be in like the Brian Laughlin universe. And I was like, okay, bet, like, let's do this. So she was like a dominatrix-ish character, I guess. And the storyline was that Brian had met her during one of his fucking drinking drug binges back in, the day. And it just got to the point where, like, I know God bless all you people out there fucking in the DMs. I'm not one of them. And it got to that point, and I literally was like, and we're done. Like, this is not what I'm doing. This is not why I joined this fucking hobby. Like, I joined this hobby to write about wrestling, not to write about. And like, so we would like co-write RP sometimes, and I literally would be like, how am I going to turn this? Like, my friends are going to fucking destroy me. And they did. They absolutely did. And they still do till this day. And luckily she latched her fucking teeth into somebody else who, rumor has it loves DM sex. So, I mean, they can, DM sex together for, eternity, like, for all I give a fuck. But yeah, that was a dark spot in Brian Laughlin's life. I will say that.
Let me slip my own question in here. Little at the EFED podcast at Mikey Unlikely.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've been EFEDing for 20 years. I have never done the ship thing.
Okay.
What's the point? I mean, this is wrestling.
Right.
Why are we shipping? You know what I'm saying?
Dude, I have no idea. And like,
but I see it all the time, and I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know.
One day, I have a suggestion for you. One day, have an EFED roundtable with people who have been EFEDing for like 15 to 20 years. Maybe through 3 or 4 of us that take the game as wrestling, like you just said.
Yeah.
Because like I shipped Brian Laughlin with Kalen, which is a character of my good friend T. But it was never like a weird thing out of character, because her boyfriend Andrew is Elijah Carlson, and I know Andrew, and it developed both of our characters more, and that was the cool part about it. And I think for some people it does do that. I have seen some ships help develop, because what happens is those writers end up working together, and I think working with T helped me bring out a certain side of Laughlin, and like we could bounce ideas off of each other, and so that was cool. Like that was very cool, but. Sometimes when two people just ship characters because the fucking pick bases are dating in real life, like
we can get pics together.
What the fuck are we doing? Yeah, we can screenshot more shit off Instagram. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I had a friend who also was like into all that, and she would be like, "Oh, like let's ship these characters." And I'm like, I'm not about that life. Like,
yeah,
Then I don't know. It's fucking weird to me. The whole thing is weird. The DM sex thing. I mean, that's been around since I guess AOL chat rooms.
I'm sure, right.
Sure, but yeah, the ship thing to me, I don't know. It's like 2 people getting married in Sims. Like, who gives a fuck?
Yeah, okay.
I don't care.
Well, it is what I was just wondering. I don't know. It's new to me.
Yeah, I just think if it could add to your character and like give you like, so for Brian, it was like kind of he had never like cared for another human being was kind of the angle that I went with, and then like here's this human being that he cares about. So it kind of added another dimension to Laughlin, like, oh, he kind of is human, like he does care about this person.
Well, and then, and it gives you more freedom than, I guess, an NPC where you're just an empty person.
Yeah, because I would tweet, weird, dumb shit. And as Caitlin, T would be like, you know, she would tweet me like, what the fuck did you just say? Like, what? And, you know, she would DM me on the side like, oh, like, let's go this way on Twitter. And I'm like, yeah, that's funny as fuck. Let's do that. and it paid off almost always. It didn't pay off once when we went with an angle that she got possessed by a demon that was, or a shaman character named Vidus, that did not go over well with my friends either. They still, the line that Eve, who plays Marquise, she always is like, oh, her eyes were blue. Like there was a line in my RP where like, it just makes me cringe. But anyways, yeah, no, it's definitely not fucking necessary. So I couldn't agree more.
Okay. All right.
Couldn't agree more.
At Stomach the Soil. What are your feelings on the way that corporate America is trying to squeeze out the working class farmer? Great question. Bring in the questions here on the EFED podcast.
More local farms. But here's the thing: we don't teach farming in schools anymore. Like we used to teach farming in rural areas. Now it's just like you're only taught about corporate America things in school. You know, that's kind of where it is. Like the only reason for summer break during school is because kids used to go farm with their parents.
Didn't know that.
That's a true story. I mean, I think so anyways. I'm just spewing shit like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I know that's why we do daylight savings time, right? Yeah.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So like the summer break thing is like not a real thing, and there's, you know, there's no reason for kids to be out for 3 months and forget all the productivity they just worked on for 9 months. And now it just goes out the window so they can like do fucking drugs at the convenience store together. Like, I don't know.
I warned my kids, reckoning is coming.
There will be a time where there's no fucking summer breaks.
There is no breaks. Yeah.
That's my presidential campaign. No summer breaks.
All right. At Face Devlin. Brennan Devlin. Why is 4CW such a mean place? Why do you all hurt me? Why are you a big bully?
That whole like 4CW is mean thing. Like here's the thing. Like they weren't wrong. Like we were toxic. We were not. We were not good people. We were mean to each other. We were backstabbing each other, talking shit about each other. And it was because of the environment that Perry Wallace fucking created. It's his fault. So if you're going to blame anybody, blame Perry Wallace for the environment that he created, where you basically had to kind of toe the line of out of character shots, but be in character and be funny.
Okay, well let's blame him then. So let me ask you again: 100%. Why is 4CW such a mean place?
Yeah, because of Perry Wallace.
All right. Well, why do you all hurt me?
Because it's fun.
And Perry Wallace. And why are you a big bully?
Because Perry Wallace made me this way.
There you have it. There,
yes,
plain and simple. So, how bad did it break your heart when Foxwoman got rid of you?
That's when Kaylin divorced Brian. That was like a long time coming for us, because it got to a point, I think, for both of us where like the ship, like we just talked about, the ship made no more sense. They're just characters going two different ways. So it was just like, yeah, this doesn't really make much sense anymore. And yeah, like I was in a point in my life where I wasn't really writing. I also wasn't like selling her the shit that T was doing with Kaylin, which, you know, you kind of sign up for that as part of like even if you're a tag team with somebody, you got to sell their shit. And I wasn't selling shit because I was just in a place in my life where I just like, fuck EFED, I don't give a shit. So, you know, I felt bad for Kaylin. So yeah, it was the only logical next step. So it is what it is.
So it broke your heart a lot.
Of course, yeah. I mean, this is EFED. This is fucking real life. Like my character, my character was heartbroken.
Yes, you can't do that to my character.
No, don't do that to my character. How dare you?
Is Brennan Devlin your favorite wrestler? Yes or yes?
I mean, it's close to find someone who I like writing wise more than Brennan when it comes to. I mean, like Jake is funny. I love Jake, but like there's I don't know what it is about Sean's writing. That's his name, IRL. Haha.
It was exposed in the thread anyway.
Oh, was it? Okay. Yeah. So Sean, I don't know. Sean's writing is fantastic. He can do so many different things. I mean, there was a point where he was running a Brenda Devlin from an alternative time, like fucking smart stuff, like genius stuff. I don't know if that was his idea or the other handler's idea, but Sean's writing is great. So yeah, he's probably, I would say, one of my top 3 favorite writers. So yes, Brendan Devlin's the best. Yes.
Okay, well, his next question is, name everyone who shit-talked me in Hollywood Pro privately to you.
Oh, I mean, Alicia Lucas, Sam Tolson, fucking...
He's naming names. Alphabetically.
I don't even... Yeah. I couldn't even remember. Those are just the two biggest ones. Like, right off, like, no bullshit right off the bat. Oh, Rachel, whatever the fuck from Rachel something that was played, I don't know. He was played by some ginger redheaded kid. Rachel Redding maybe was her name. It was just right off the bat, like literally within 24 hours, I wake up one day and fucking DMs about the way Brennan's treating people. And I'm like, we're not doing this, guys. But then again, at the same time, I'm like laughing because I'm like, I did this. Like, this was my idea.
You did it again. You knew what you were doing.
I did. I'm a piece of shit. It is what it is.
He asked more questions. Get ready.
Oh my God.
Why are you the worst Hollywood HUD, and why is the Joey Ryan one the best one?
Oh yeah, there's like another guy with the same exact, like Hudson Hughes.
Yes,
Hollywood Hudson Hughes.
I saw that as well.
Yeah, and like it's a Joey Ryan pick base, and I don't know if it like I don't.
It's got to be a troll, right?
It has to be, but there's a whole thing going on right now in EFED where it's like we're all like ripping each other. Like there's young Chris Kane who like jumps off a roof, but like now young Chris Kane isn't a gimmick character. Now it's like he's like doing things and people are giving him championships. And then there's Dr. Sam Tolson. And I think they were the original, by the way, just to give them credit where credit's due. And I saw that and I was like, is this like, I should feel honored. But at the same time, I'm also like, wait a minute. The other two people who were ripped off were two of quite possibly the worst fucking EFED characters I've ever seen in my entire life. Am I the third worst EFED character ever? So it was kind of like hey, look at me. And then I was like, oh no, like I need to look in the mirror. Like maybe it's time to take old Yeller out back in the EFED world. But yeah, I saw that. Fuck him. Fuck you, Sean.
Well, he finally asks if you and MK are an item because he gets a vibe from you.
Yeah, I love Michael Kelly. He's my BFF. We text each other. True story. You know, when I was going through my stuff in real life, like Mike, I'm just going to call him Michael Kelly because he definitely doesn't want a shoot name out there. IRL, you know, MK is a great friend and a good person, and him and his partner, Ruby Rose, I think Ruby Rose is her name on Twitter. Yeah, I love MK. So yeah, we are an item. So suck it. Fuck you. Again, fuck you, Sean.
Sounds like he's jealous.
I think he is jealous, but I DM Sean every goddamn day. I text him when I text my own mother.
Oh, so. Lynn's is about to be pissed off. So.
Oh no, fuck. Lindsay, I'm just kidding. I don't text Brennan. I never do. I never DM him.
All right, at Skull Kids Bro, can you confirm or deny that the rumor that you have old balls?
My balls are not old. No gray hair on my balls yet, but thank you, Skull Kids.
He screamed it, but I'm not going to scream it.
No, I know. There's a lot of there might be some duplicate words in there, like old balls, I think.
And old. Yeah.
Well, see, the gimmick is that I don't want to break down the fourth wall, but the gimmick is that they're both tweeting at the same time. So you have to read the Skull Kids thing as if it's two stupid Skull Kids
on one screen.
Typing on one screen or maybe two different keyboards at the same time on the same monitor. That's the gimmick.
Amazing.
Yes.
Finally, is Lil Miss Anarchy on Twitter. How did you become so good at writing a miserable shithead like Laughlin?
Because I'm a miserable shithead. That's why.
Made about yourself.
Yeah. The best characters in EFED, just like, you know, the best characters in pro wrestling are just yourself turned up to 11. And that's what Brian Laughlin was. I drink Bang regularly. I mean, I'll make that no secret. I think Sam Shaw loving Bang so much and having a period of time where he was sponsored by them was so fucking great for me writing him at the time. It's very weird that when I eventually found Sam Shaw as a pick base, like how perfectly fit he was for the shit that I was writing. So yeah, I'm just a miserable shithead and an over caffeinated miserable shithead. So that's high.
Bang.
That's how it happened.
There you go.
Bang. Yes. Bang. Also
on Discord, we got Warren. Take one of your guys and book him in WWE, AEW, Impact, and New Japan. Where does the wrestler do the best and why?
That's a good question. I mean, I don't really think about stuff like that, I guess. You know what I mean? In terms of like
putting a fake character
of,
with a real character.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like Sam Shaw is still in NXT and he's kind of creepy, almost like a Laughlin vibe, but more like Dexter serial killer-ish. Right. So that's why his name's Dexter now, Dexter Loomis. So
yeah.
I guess not very well there. He didn't do very well in Impact either. I think he was like a creepy Christy Hemme stalker there. So not there. I get not Japan because he doesn't really, he would be like Fale or whatever, just like big as fuck and chopping people's chests, or like the Good Brothers are. Yep.
AEW?
Probably not. No. Probably just some shitty indie fed where Laughlin could just like get over, get paid, and get the fuck out. Like
GCW.
Yeah, Laughlin's ride off into the sunset is very much Zack Ryder. So yeah, we'll just go with that. We'll go with GCW. That's a perfect answer.
All right. Well, finally we got Jake. Are you ready for it?
I guess.
Jake at Jake here. Number 1, F. Marry Kill, Uncle Paul, Chip Chipperson, and Edgar Mellencamp.
I'm killing Uncle Paul and he knows why. That's the things that he does are unspeakable. I'm marrying Chip Chipperson, and I guess that means who's the third one?
Edgar Mellencamp.
I guess I gotta fuck Edgar while he talks about how my teeth are dry. Yeah, so that's my answer. Jesus Christ, I fucking hate you.
Question 2. Give me your e-wrestling Mount Rushmore.
I'm trying to think of the guys that were so fucking corny and took it so serious back in the day. One of them, I guess, popped up more recently and was like in an MMA fed.
Well, hold on. These are your favorite guys because he's subsequently going to ask you for the opposite.
Oh. My top 4 favorite. Okay, so Mount Rushmore has 4, right? I'm not fucking.
Yeah.
Okay. So I got to go with John Bronx. One of the funniest characters, like wasn't supposed to be funny, but could also be serious, and was like his insults like hurt you because they were so well thought out. It was like again sociopathic type shit in your head. I think those are the best writers. So I would have to go him. Oh man, I'm gonna. Mike Best is up there. I love some of the shit that he puts out on characters that aren't Mike Best. Make me fucking howl laughing. Like I don't know if people know his other characters, so I'm not gonna like say them out loud, but I used to DM him all the time with like screenshots of his tweets, some of the shit that he would say in RPs, and I'm just like, dude, he's for a guy that I was told that I wasn't supposed to like, and I think I understand why, because our two brains together would be a very dangerous thing. But yeah, him. I gotta go Cody because he put together CWC, so he has to be up there. He was really good under Chris Callum was his character. He was he was a very good writer back in like the Galveston Island wrestling days. And I'm just gonna Jake. We'll just throw Jake up there for the endless amount of hours of entertainment that I've gotten from some of his stupid fucking characters. I would say that he has to be in the top 4. Plus, there's a bunch of people that are like fringe, and if I threw them on the list, it would make other people mad. So I have to throw Jake up there because no one's gonna be mad at Jake.
Well, plus you could just cycle through Jake's once a year. You can change the face.
Yeah, what's the blue guy that I had, or Bombay, or whatever his name was, and then Muriel puddings or tapioca puddings, and yeah, all of them. Just give me all the J characters. Give me a whole fed full of those fucking things.
I'm sure he's got one. Question 3. Subsequently, give me 4 characters you'd like to see thrown off Mount Rushmore.
Number 1, we'll just restart. Number 1, Sam Tolson. No. So yeah, that number 2, Miles Blake. Number 3, Nirvana, and number 4, the little shithead that we used to run around with Nirvana. What's his name?
Madman.
Yes, Madman Zelinsky. I would put Drew Stevenson up there, but he couldn't stand up to get to the top of Mount Rushmore. The joke there is that he's in a wheelchair. Those 4 or 5 people like legitimately despise, and like I will say like, oh, I hate you, blah blah blah, to like other people's characters and stuff and not be funny, but Miles Blake, you guys, just Google search it or search it on Twitter. There's endless threads. The Nerve and Madman thing was always just so, again, 2 dudes that took the hobby way too seriously and also enabled behavior that this hobby doesn't need, considering all of the things that we already allow. And then, yeah, Sam Tolson, because they take themselves too seriously. That's my top 4.
Question 4 from Jake. What aspect of role-playing do you most enjoy, writing and reading?
It's like writing or reading, is he asking?
He has them separately. So which aspect do you enjoy writing, and which aspect do you enjoy reading?
Writing, I would say they're both the same thing. I like laughing. Like, make me laugh either one. I'm going to write to make my friends laugh, and I want my friends to make me laugh when they write. So even if it's like an inside joke that only him and I understand, and it's a role play against somebody, sometimes Jake would write things and I was like, man, I haven't even read the other role play. And Jake and also Brian Williams did this, because I'm sick of fucking putting Jake over. Sean would do this, but like they would write things where I'm like, that's literally a reference to only that 2 people know. I'm one of them and I'm judging the match. And I don't even give a fuck what the other person wrote. Like, they lost already. So, but then, so that's reading. And then writing, same thing. Like, I want to make my friends laugh, but also I'm a really big fan of like alliteration while doing insults. So I was always, you would always, if you look into a Brian Laughlin role play, there's like one sentence that was very, what's that fucking V for Vendetta, where he uses all the V words. I always picked one letter, and I did like a full sentence of alliteration insulting somebody with that one letter. So I was a really big fan of that. I like using words to make people's feelings hurt. So, yeah, those 2 things.
Finally, from Jake, and a good closer: F, Marry, Kill, Average Joe, Slugger, and Raptor.
I'm marrying Raptor. I don't care. That character is so dumb because it's just a vegan dinosaur who wants to. I'll just, for people who don't know, like, it's a vegan dinosaur whose pick base is obviously Luchasaurus. His name is Raptor, and he is there to fight the war against Big Chicken, because chicken is the closest descendant of the dinosaur. So like whenever someone like dino shaped nuggets trigger Raptor. And like, honestly, probably one of my more fun role plays was like Raptor doing a like Firefly Funhouse type of shit where like he has little puppets that are also animals. And yeah, so like you really have to be, he's like, when I say it out loud, that's what I hated. Let's just rewind real quick. When you DM'd me, I was like, fuck yeah, dude, I get to be on Mikey's podcast about EFED. And at the same time, I was like, if I'm going to talk about EFED and that makes it real, like the Sandman or like the Boogeyman, like for all these years, like you said, 20 years, like I'm old and I've been doing it for a long time. And let me ask you, Mike, when did your significant other learn about EFED? Let me reverse the interview here for a hot sec.
Almost immediately.
Oh my God.
Only because I was at a point in my life where I didn't give a fuck anymore. And I realized that if I was going to do it and enjoy it, that people need to know about it. So my closest friends were aware, and my significant others were aware.
Oh my God. I have friends that have been my best friends that know everything about me for I'm just aged myself, for a very long time, since I was a kid. And they don't know I EFED. They have no idea.
It took me till 30 to be that way. Don't get me wrong.
Okay. Fair enough. I mean, I'm past 30 and I'm still not at that point. Like my last significant other, she found out because like I forgot to shut the Twitter notifications off one time we were together, and she was like, and I think it might have been like Jake or Brian Williams, or just, it was some very nasty insult towards me, and she's like, are you fighting people on Twitter? And she's like, I didn't even, and I was like, and then she pulled it up and she's like, why, like, who is this? Like, why, like, who's Hudson Hughes?
And then you ran out the door screaming. Yes.
Well, I just started sweating, and I was like, oh, fuck. And then immediately she wanted to know, like, everything about EFED. And, like, as I said, and this is what I say, like, as I said it out loud, I just started laughing because I was like, this is the most ridiculous fucking thing. Like, Like, am I real? Like,
well, listen.
yeah, and then you like
try explaining you're going to start a podcast about it.
Yeah, but like, you know, you can start a podcast. I mean, listen, there's people that just like watch TV shows and then like talk about it on a podcast. Like we're talking about, you could really, like I said, if you had a round table, you could really get into like some really interesting topics on eFed, specifically, you know, shipping. I would do an hour on shipping and all of that, like having kids and putting people's, like, there's a handler out there that put their fucking sister's baby was the pick base for their fucking child. And they were posting their sister's baby on Twitter without them knowing, and it was for a fake wrestler. Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, I would literally sit here for hours with you and just be like, yeah, let's roundtable eFed.
Well, no, it's an idea that I've had in the past, so it's definitely plausible. Yeah. And there's definitely topics that I just don't have any experience in, like that one.
Yeah. And like, there are so many things that I could enlighten you on that for the stupid, and Jake too. And cause like Jake kind of is in both worlds of like, you know, you guys having fun eFed and everybody hates each other eFed over on our side. And, you know, he's got an interesting perspective on all that stuff. And guys like, you know, Sean tells me stories that make me like literally fucking my skin crawl. But yeah, same thing. Like, I don't want to, when I said like, oh, let's do Mikey's podcast, I was like, I have to talk about eFed, man. Like this is,
it's real.
It's real. It's so real. And I hate it.
Like my friends know I do this podcast, but they're just like, yeah, he does a weird internet wrestling thing.
Yeah, I mean, like in the end, Dungeons and Dragons is popular now, you know, and like there's a lot of pro wrestlers out there that talk about how they used to eFed. So I hate that they do that because it kind of makes it like, oh, cool, like they used to do it, and it's like, yeah, but
I'm not going to be a wrestler.
Yeah, like you got a fucking neck beard in your mom's basement, and 100%. You're like, you know,
yeah,
they're pro wrestlers, so it's a little bit different.
But yes, so that's a great spot to wrap it up.
Yeah, right. Nice culmination of everything on the podcast.
Thanks, Jake, for wrapping that up for us. No, but
yeah,
BL, this has been a blast for me. I had a great time interviewing you. Hope you had the same.
Yeah, dude, this was great. And like, by the way, like, also we can wrap the podcast up with this. I was in a weird place when I blew up the eFed Discord back in the day, so I apologize for that. You and I, behind the scenes, you know, kayfabe aside, and you know that I've always loved everything that you've done. I was supportive of the t-shirt thing and the podcast thing. I think that, you know, when I heard the first couple episodes of this, I was like, dude, this guy obviously knows a little bit about what he's doing. And it's not just two idiots sitting on a Skype call and calling it 4CW radio while they get fucking drunk, fall asleep, and use racial slurs. So I like the eFed podcast. Keep doing it. And yeah, sorry that I did what I did. My bad.
No, and 9 times out, I mean, you and I have DM'd back and forth, and we've been cool, so no, absolutely, no worries. Awesome. Very good. This has been a great time, guys. Anything else you want to plug? Push?
No, I put my friends over today. I mean, I think I named everybody. You know, go just start. Don't be afraid to click people's Google Docs links, because there's a lot of great writers out there that just aren't on forums, and they're just like writing stories, and it's like kind of around wrestling. Yeah, just I'm not going to name my friends' names and just be like that guy, but a lot of people are putting out a lot of quality stuff that seems like real, like from the heart type shit. And yeah, just don't be afraid to join an eFed that your friends aren't in.
There you go.
That's it.
That's a great suggestion.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, that wraps it up here on the eFed podcast. Right. Appreciate you.
Yeah, Mikey, take it easy, man.
And there you have it, the interview with BL. Excited to bring it to you guys. What a fun interview it was, Brian. I really enjoyed getting to talk to him, a guy who we've razzed back and forth on Twitter a few times, and still able to find common ground, talk eFedding, and BS for about, I don't know, an hour and a half.
Yeah, every time I see Hudson Hughes, for some reason, I think of, I think they're gone now, maybe, but like old school days being in the airport, the Hudson News.
Yeah, there you go. I think they're still around.
Quite possibly, yeah. I haven't been in an airport in a while.
Just not in geographical oddities like Akron, Canton, Ohio.
Indeed. I'm a dapper Dan man, damn it.
That's right. So, I want to thank BL for coming on the show. Had a great time kicking off 2022 interviews with a bang. And no pun intended. Moving forward, we're going to be talking to Ken Davison next week. And, of course, after that, we've got Brian, the handler interview. We're going to razz him on Twitter live, not on Twitter, on twitch.tv/the eFed podcast. So make sure you tune in, follow, and subscribe if that's a thing on Twitch. We're still new.
I mean, we could do some more Twitter activities. If you want to razz me on Twitter, go for it. I'll never see it, but just hey, have a ball.
We're gonna get at him, guys. Get at us at the EFED Podcast on Twitter. Of course, you can find us on Discord. We got that link right in the EFED Podcast profile. Otherwise, you got any questions? You can hit us up on Twitter. Make sure you follow that YouTube. Just search the EFED Podcast wherever you go.
100%.
We're on Spotify, on Apple, on Google, on Stitcher, and anywhere you find your podcasts. All right, Brian, that's going to wrap it up for another edition of the EFED Podcast, episode 88.
88.
It was a great year. I remember it well. Catch us next time here on the Atomic Dropcast Network. Catch us on YouTube. Catch us on Twitch. Catch us at your mama's house. The EFED Podcast, where the wrestling is written, but the characters are real.
You've been listening to the EFED Podcast, only on the Atomic Dropcast Network, presented commercial free on Patreon.com.
Panera. Hey Brian, if you're listening to this, you're the best. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. No matter what Mikey says, you're the best. The whole show works because of you.
I quit all fans or something like.
I like EFED Podcast. Two idiots sitting on a Skype call and